Hi, this is Deacon Hayes from wellkeptwealth.com, and welcome to Debt Free in 18 Months, a course designed not only to get you out of debt, but to get you out of debt fast in a specified period of time. What we're going to talk about is how you can develop a plan to pay off your debt in 18 months, and the results are going to be up to you. But I will give you the tools and resources necessary to get there. But before we get into that, let me tell you a little bit about my story. I'm married to a wonderful woman. Her name is Kimberly Hayes, and we've been married for almost 5 years now. And when we got married, we decided to put our finances together, to combine our finances, and put everything on one piece of paper so we could see where we were at. And when we did that, we realized something. We realized that combined, we had about $52,000 of consumer debt. So that included student loans, that included car loans, credit cards, and it just was overwhelming. We realized that we needed to do something about it, and we needed to do something fast. Well, by our efforts and what we ended up doing, we were able to pay off all of our debt in 18 months and really get rid of this big burden that we thought would hang around for decades, like it did for those that we knew, like our parents or our close friends and people that have been in debt for a long time, and realize that there's really something to setting a goal in a specified period of time of saying, I want to be debt free in 18 months, and then developing a roadmap to get you there. We've had the privilege of being featured in some major publications like US News and World Report and Fox News, as well as some others. And we've really been blessed to be able to share our story with thousands of people, really, who want to get out of debt and get their finances in order. And we feel really privileged to have had those opportunities. And I often get asked, what was the key to paying off your debt so quickly? Well, I mean, everybody wants a get out of debt quick, fix, or some sort of quick fix. And really, the key is developing a financial game plan and sticking to it on a monthly basis. And what I mean by a financial game plan is I've created a form that does two things. It not only tracks your income and expenses, which is what your normal budget does, it also tracks your assets and your debts, all on one piece of paper. And the reason why this was so important was when Kim and I would sit down, we wanted to be able to look at one sheet of paper and know exactly where we stood that month when it came to our finances. And so that was huge for us to be able to have something very simple and put it all in one place to make it approachable and something that we could do on a regular basis and not feel overwhelmed. You might be asking yourself, well, really, is it important? I mean, why is tracking your money important? And the reality is it's one of the most important things when it comes to getting your finances in order, because it gives you control of where your money goes. It's not what a lot of people think is that it's restricting and that it keeps you from being able to do the things you want to do in life. And it's actually the exact opposite. It actually gives you freedom because you have control and know where your money's going. You know if you have the money to go on that vacation or to pay your bills or to give to some worthy cause, because you're tracking it and you have an idea of where all your money is at any given time. So I've created a form to help you get your finances in order that we're going to work through in this class called Debt Free in 18 Months. And it's called the Financial Game Plan Form. You can download this at wellkeptwealth.com/resources. I will also put the link up after I explain it, but I just want to let you know now, if you wanted to pause the video, you could do that, download the form, and walk through it with me if you'd like. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, you just have 3 different rows: payroll for you, payroll for your spouse, and then miscellaneous. If you sell something on Craigslist, if you get an inheritance, if you get money back from your taxes, you'd put that in that field. And you can feel free to adjust this and modify it where necessary. But the fields that you see the zeros in, that means those calculate automatically. So I've done some work for you to make it easy. So if you put 1,000 in the first payroll spot and 1,000 in the second, it will automatically total that to 2,000 and then pull that over to the right where you can see total income. The next section is your housing expenses. And the reason why I put this as its own section is because that can be one of the biggest areas where people spend the most money. And so I really wanted to point out how much money of your total income is going to pay your housing expenses. And that will signify whether or not you need to make some adjustments in that area. So the first section, mortgage, rent, electric, you've got the HOA stands for Homeowners Association. If you live in a community where you pay a fee on a monthly basis, that's what that would be. HOI stands for Homeowners Insurance. So if you have, renter's insurance, you could put that there as well. Once again, these will all calculate for you. The last section of the expense part of the financial game plan, you'll notice something a little bit different. You'll see some dashes in there. That's because there is another sheet that if you wanted to, you could put the details for each one of those categories. For instance, for vehicle gas, let's say, you went to Circle K and got $30. So you'd put that on the other sheet where you put the details. And then you went to another gas station like Shell, spent another $30. It would automatically pull those numbers to this sheet, and it would have a total of $60 in the vehicle/gas section. So once again, I'm just trying to make it easy for you. If you want to just type over that section and just put in a total, you're more than welcome to do that. I just provided that as an added benefit to make it easier if you wanted to keep track of the details. Then you'll notice that there's some that are blank, like car insurance. And that's because your car insurance typically is the same amount every month. So you don't need to have detailed reporting because you know that it's going to be a fixed amount. And so that's why that's blank. And then I've left you some miscellaneous sections down there where you can track, we call miscellaneous 1 and 2 girl and guy money, because my wife buys certain things that are girly. I buy certain things that are, that guys buy. And so that's what we call them. You can call them whatever you want to. Notice that I've got 2 different sections, one towards the top called giving and then one called gift. So giving would be if you give to worthy causes like your church or, a nonprofit organization, serving at-risk youth, whatever it might be, you put that in the giving section. Gift would be more like you're giving something to your kid, like a birthday present, an anniversary present, etc. If you notice, there's total expenses on the far right. These will automatically calculate, which will make it huge for what we're going to do in trying to get you out of debt in 18 months. Here's a quick side note as far as this is the detail page. This is the third sheet on the Excel spreadsheet that you're going to download. And this is where you'd put that detailed information if you wanted to pull over to the other form. So this is the last part of the financial game plan form. And the number up at the top right, surplus deficit, this is the key to figuring out how long it's going to take you to get out of debt. And if you want to get out of debt in 18 months, how much money you need to have in this field in order to do that. So for instance, let's say you had, just to make it simple, let's say that you had $5,000 in income and you had $4,000 in expenses. That means that you'd have a surplus/deficit of $1,000 to pay down your debt. So if you notice on the first half, I didn't say anything about credit cards or student loans. That's because that's all down here. We want to know how much do you have to work with in the surplus deficit field to begin paying off your debts quickly. So then over on the left side, you'll notice that I've got your debts. You might have more than this. You feel free to adjust it. In fact, I will update the form every once in a while to give you some more space. But this is just to be a guide to get you started. And keep in mind, this game plan form, I'm thinking you should be able to fill this out in 10, 15 minutes if you have all of your data in one place. We use a resource called mint.com, which helps us with this bottom section because it will pull in all of our data. If we had credit cards, it would pull that data in. It pulls in our mortgage. It pulls in our retirement accounts. So it just brings us all that information in one place. And then all I have to do is log in, find out that information, and then just enter the details in. If you're not set up for that, you can just grab all of your latest statements. So your mortgage statement, credit card statement, car statement, etc. And you can just put the balance owed in the amount owed section, put the interest rate, minimum payment, and so forth. all your debts will total automatically. And then on the right side, if you have multiple accounts, you don't necessarily have to break out checking, savings fund number 2. You can if you want to. The goal here is just to say how much assets do you have. So if you have multiple savings accounts, you can just put the total in that field. Retirement account, same thing. Emergency fund, so that's also key because we want to know how much you have specifically set aside in case of emergencies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. How much your cars are worth, and if you have a home, we have a condo, but if you have a house or you have a mansion or whatever, you can put that there. And then the bottom number, net worth, will mean after we subtract your debts from your assets, how much are you worth, right? So let's say that you had $100,000 in assets and you had $50,000 in debt. That means you'd have a net worth of $50,000. The idea is you want that number to go up and not down. It's okay if it is in the negative. A lot of people were hit by the economic downturn where the real estate market crashed. And so have no fear. We're just focused on right now your consumer debt, getting you out of that within 18 months. So like I said before, you can download this form at wellkept.wallet.com/resources. And I've got other forms there as well that you can use for this class. They'll be under the forms section of that page. So I want to give you a kind of an overview of what we're going to go over in the following classes so that you know what to expect. The next class will be called How to Pay Off Your Debt Fast. Like I said, I don't want you to have debt for decades. I want you to be able to get out of it quickly, develop a plan, and start achieving your financial goals in life. Do you want to put your kids through college? Do you want to travel to a foreign country? Do you want to be able to give to worthy causes because you just have a heart to help others? Whatever your goals are, my goal is to help you get there fast by giving you a plan to pay off your debt as quickly as possible. And then the last course, what we're going to talk about is ways to earn extra cash and ways to decrease your expenses. And why this is key is because we had talked about that surplus number on the financial game plan form. And the only way, there's 2 ways to increase that number. And these are those 2 ways. You get some extra income or you decrease your expenses. So really this is going to be a crucial course. So stick around for that to learn about how to get rid of your debt faster. So each class I'm going to refer to these 7 steps, and I call them the 7 steps for a well-kept wallet because I'm from wellkeptwallet.com, and that's what we're trying to do here, is trying to get you a wallet that isn't depleted or isn't lacking, but one that is well kept. So the first step, which we talked about, is a financial game plan. And what I recommend is that you do this on either a bi-weekly or a monthly basis, meaning that if you have a spouse, you sit down with them every 2 weeks or once a month and you go over this form and rehash, okay, how did we do? How close are we to our goals? What else can we do to make, our financial situation better? And so that will be key in your process for getting out of debt quickly. Step 2 is to get a starter emergency fund of at least $1,000. So what we're trying to do here is, instead of going to credit cards, instead of borrowing money for emergencies, using that $1,000 to be a cushion while you're getting out of debt. When we were getting out of debt, we had a hot water tank break, we had a tire blow, we had all sorts of emergencies, but because we had this starter emergency fund, we were able to pay cash for them, and it really wasn't a crisis because we had the money to pay for them. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here in step 2. Step 3 is eliminate your debt. So after today, you should have a financial game plan in place before you go and watch the second video. You should also get a $1,000 emergency fund as quick as possible. So whether that means selling stuff on eBay, Craigslist, Amazon.com, whatever you could do to get that $1,000. And then step 3 is eliminate your debt, which is what we're doing here. And we want to do it in 18 months. So I want you to get to step 3 as soon as possible. Step 4, this is after you've paid off your consumer debt, not your mortgage, but your consumer debt. Have at least 3 months of your expenses in emergency fund. So let's say that you make $2,000 a month. you should have at least $6,000 in an emergency fund at this point. This is after you've paid off your consumer debt. I understand that this could feel impossible right now, but once you get the momentum, I promise you it will not take as long as you think. Step 5, this is where you start investing for your future, whether it's to invest to retire, it's to invest for your kids to go to college. This is where you start investing for the future. So I recommend that you invest a minimum of 10%. And what I'm trying to do is give you minimums that are attainable. You can invest more than this, but what I'm trying to do is give you a minimum that will help you achieve your financial goals and get you from where you are to where you want to be. Step 6, save up for major purchases. So this is where if you want to buy a house, you want to replace your car, you want to get a boat. I mean, whatever you want to do, if you're completely debt-free except for your home, you have an emergency fund of at least 3 months, you're doing a game plan on a monthly basis, you're investing for the future, you've got all the key components in place, that this is an appropriate time to start saving up for some major purchases. Step 7 and the last step of the 7 steps for a well-kept wallet is give more. And what that implies is that I encourage you to give all along the way, whether it's just a little amount. Don't get caught up on the number. Get caught up on the idea of being generous and helping others in need. If you go to a website called globalrichlist.com and put in your salary, it will tell you where you are in respect to the rest of the people in the world. And if you make minimum wage in America, you are in the top 12% of all people in the world. So the reality is that if you're listening to this, you're probably blessed than the majority of people. And so really, I encourage you to give, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those that helped me, whether it was with teaching me different things or giving me financial resources or whatever it was. The only reason I'm here is because others had helped me. So I encourage you to give and to give more. In step 7, once you've paid off all your debt and you've got your stuff in place, give more and help those around you. So each session, I'm going to do a quick, what I call reality check. I'm going to ask you a question, let you think about it for a couple seconds, and then I'll give you the answer, and then you're going to have to check to see how close your thought was to what reality is. So here's this week's reality check. What do you think the Forbes 400 wealthiest people in the world said is the best way to become wealthy? So these are 400 of the richest people in the world. What do you think the number one thing that they said was the best way to become wealthy? Answer: get out of debt and stay out of debt. And the reason being is when you have interest working against you, the longer that you have working against you, the more it's working in somebody else's favor. So the sooner that you can get out of debt, the sooner that you can start getting interest working for you instead of against you, and start getting your financial house in order. So wrapping up, one of my favorite quotes, even though it's short: leaders are readers. And the idea is you can't, this is from Barry Asmus, you can't learn everything there is to know about personal finance in just one class. You have to continually learn. And one of the best ways to do that is to read. So the book that I recommend this week, which I think you'll find very enjoyable, is called The Millionaire Mind by Thomas Stanley. And this guy studies millionaires for a living. So who better to learn from than a guy that studies them and knows them inside and out? And so he talks about their character. He talks about the type of cars they drive. He talks about the types of houses they own. And it's fascinating to find out what the reality is for the average millionaire. Lastly, here's my contact info. I'd love to connect with you on Facebook, Twitter, or even if you have a question, feel free to email me directly. I'd be glad to help.